This episode of the WP Minute is brought to you by OmniSend. Do you sell stuff online? Then you need to meet OmniSend, the powerful yet refreshingly intuitive email and SMS tool that helps you make $73 for every dollar spent. OmniSend is that good and effective. You probably know the struggles of investing in digital ads with no guarantee it'll bring money back into your pocket. Use OmniSend and you won't have to find creative ways to make your audience notice you. You just talk straight to them. Use OmniSend pop-ups to build a contact list, then send campaigns directly to people who already want to hear from you. Automate everything with OmniSend. Just set it up once, sit back, and watch those sales roll in. If this sounds too good to be true, check it out at omnisend.com. Visit omnisend.com. Tell them thanks for sponsoring the WP Minute. Cory Miller, welcome back to the WP Minute.
It's good to be on again, Matt. I missed you.
We're no longer competing for the same audience anymore.
Oh.
What a great, not that we ever competed.
Exactly. No, but yeah, it's a new day, and I love what you do here, of course, Matt, and always. We've been friends for a long time, but also mutual supporters in the media space.
Yes.
And so thanks for that. Yeah, it's a new day. Big stuff going on and good changes.
Lots of stuff to talk about today. Number one, A2 was acquired. We're going to talk about that. PostStatus was acquired. We're going to talk about that. And a couple other mergers and acquisitions in your life. It's been a busy 2 or 3 or maybe a month. I don't know. You tell me, how are you feeling now that all of this stuff is out into the open?
I used to, for years, go like, I thrive on change and all this. And it was because I was initiating it. And so a lot of changes. So I'm happy, thankful in many ways for a lot of these changes. I know they're things that are good and it's the next phase of a lot of things. You mentioned PostStatus, super excited about that. I want to talk about that when you're ready. But yeah, it's been a season of change, letting some things go and accepting some things overall in my personal, professional life, but good.
It's always nice to breathe a bit of a sigh of relief, whether it's, all your hard work with PostStatus and the WordPress community and getting that, what I'll call taken care of. And we'll dive into that in the back half of this episode. But let's talk first about the A2 stuff. World Host Group is the new suitor of A2. Yeah. What, you get the news, you're like, oh man, hosting in WordPress, it's a game built on trust. It's a game built on relationships, at least as in terms of WordPress. And now you go into this, what I'll call this bigger pool of talent, of technology, of assets. The team looks at you and goes, well, you're the guy with the boots on the ground with the community. What do we do? How did you first phrase this to the team or frame it to the team to say, hey, look, WordPress community, super valuable. Let's go easy here. Let's not just put out a PR release and just move on with our day. We got to do this the right way. How did you manage that?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of the past couple of weeks. And so, I really like and love the new leadership team I've met. Seb Dilemma, our CEO, Tim, who's our chief commercial, they call it commercial. It's really cool. I like it. It's product marketing and sales, I believe. He is where I'm lining up underneath, and some of the others, and they are very, very familiar with WordPress. In fact, I think our COO has given talks at WordCamps before. They ran a agency, like a maintenance fixing type site called fix.net. So when they talk, it's really refreshing because you go, what you're talking about. And I think you know way more than I do on many of these things. They're in the details and the technical parts. And when I heard their vision and values, I said yes, that's what we need. Hosting industry, WordPress, a lot of ups and downs over the years. And, people in WordPress know, so, hey, would you get on a video with me and talk? And so he did. And I was so thankful because you get to hear it from him, not take my word for it. And everything I've seen and heard as I've continued to learn more, figure out where everything is kind of settling in, which is so early still, that it feels promising. And I like what I'm hearing. I really do. The vision is cool. The values. I was on one of our pretty extended meeting talking about all that. Thankful being able to contribute to it. And I like that. And, my thing to Seb and team was, let's get out and share, because in the absence of good information, people make things up, So that's a team thing. That's a world thing. That's a human thing. If you're not communicated, people will draw their own conclusions. And I said, to him, and I loved how responsive he was. Let's do it. Let's jump on. And so to hear from him directly, he's got a lot of experience. This is not just someone coming in, swoop up. Got great plans, and they need, companies need to make profit, including WP Minute. But the other part is like, it was compelling. It was new to me. And I go, yes, that too. Yeah. So, and he's a great communicator. So you have that. I know people will be able to see that right now. I hope they do. And look, and as he mentioned, is just give us an opportunity to do these things. We're still in early phase, but I really like the plan to increase product and support, not decrease, to increase. That's the theme that I've heard in the hosting industry overall. Company gets bought, things inevitably go down. Somehow they'll start to bounce back up. It's cyclical in the hosting industry, but I loved it because they've got a plan, and they're savvy and know. You can hear Seb's word directly is like, profit comes from taking care of people. I was like, I'm in. I like that.
World Host Group, you can check out the website, worldhost.group. There's, 14 brands, 14 hosting companies under this brand. We were talking earlier, look, it's in this day and age, anyone can Google and go up the ladder. Yes, private equity. Yes, big brand. Yes, many, many brands within one brand, right? And you see this typical structure, this typical org chart of enterprise and PE kind of feel. But what always gets lost, particularly in the WordPress space, is, hey man, sometimes the rubber meets the road. The business has to run. These are business decisions. Yes, PE has a particular playbook. There are playbooks that some are good, some are bad. It's far too early to tell for you because we're just announcing this stuff today on how they assess their portfolios, the brands in their portfolios, et cetera. But if you're taking things at face value, you're the one talking to these people on the interior. We're trusting you. The WordPress community is trusting you and making sure that A2 is ushered in to World Host Group and still, playing its part in the community. Private equity, open source, WordPress, these are things that are very delicate conversations these days, right? So I'm sure you're telling them, hey, this stuff is in the crosshairs. They must know, right? Looking at the news and knowing what's happening, they must know that. And if people are hopping on the call with you and listening to you, well, that's good, because there could be investors or private equity or big global brands that are like, whatever, whatever. Who cares, man? We don't care, Cory. We're just trying to onboard you and get this thing going. So, but it's good to hear that at least in this day and age, they're listening and they're willing to have you as that conduit, to the WordPress community. And that's all we can ask for right now.
Yeah. It's interesting. My first company, iThemes, was acquired by a private equity backed company in LiquidWeb. And I'll say today, I think I was mentioning this to someone else. I go, I don't have bad things to say about that. I was treated extremely fair. I can only speak for myself, but I was, because I kept going with them. And then you see, leaders like Matt Cromwell, Devin Walker, and others that are still part of that group and doing good things. And so, it's not always a nightmare horror story for anyone, team or customers. And so, my part was just going, let's show the humans behind this and the depth. I told Seb, our CEO, I said, I don't hear a lot of, hosting company CEOs. There are some, but get out in front and talk like he did. He was actually from his home office, sharing it. And I go, that's what I want. And there's a funny part you'll see where he talks about when he started back at 13 years old, starting, tinker with these things that like a lot of people in tech did. And I go, that's a good signal. Understanding he's built multiple hosting companies before. He's built software on teams. There's a tracker that flows into the CEO. okay, let's just take a second and say, this isn't the typical thing we've seen in the past. Not throwing shade at anyone, just going, it's just not what we've seen. And it's compelling to me. It's interesting. I go, tell me more. I want to, I'm leaning in when I'm hearing this, from branding to product to support. And so that's encouraging to me. Those to me are very good signals, but as Seb will say, and me too, is just let us show you. Let us, just give us a moment of like, before you kind of make some assumptions to see what we're going to do. Because the team I've met, the commercial team, everybody I met, which is really another great, signal for me, is they're excited about what Katie Richards and I do with our community team. That's continuing on. And, WordPress in particular, everybody just acknowledges it's huge, but that's a good signal that they value that part of what we're doing, reaching customers. And then again, some thoughtfulness, I would say. Not to say in my personal past there wasn't. It's just I really appreciate some of the thoughtfulness about what they've done, how they've communicated back what we're doing, as it all kind of flies together with all this and merges with their bigger strategy of what they're doing. And it's compelling.
I have this whole other thread of thought about like AI and the safety of our jobs as like marketing people, but I am feeling pretty confident that folks like you and I and Katie, who truly understand the value of community and can really, pull on the valuable threads of the community, like understand who the players are, understand the needs of not only the inside baseball players of WordPress, but what our customers need, what WordPress customers need, the customers of our customers need when they interact with WordPress. And what I'm getting at is two things. Number one, we don't have to talk about it. It's just something that's on my mind. Like the AI stuff is a thing, and I'm always like constantly thinking about that. But if there's a thought there for you, let me know. But the other thing is, I'm sure, folks at WorldHost and others, they'd be foolish to look at the WordPress community and be like, yeah, we know that thing is over there. And they call it, this nice little community thing, but it's whatever. They'd be foolish to approach it that way. They should be looking at it going, how can we do that WordPress community thing with these other technologies that we have? It might not get as big as the WordPress community, as long as we all stick together in the WordPress community, but they should be looking at that going, okay, that's pretty good. It's not a money maker. It's hard to, do the typical ROI thing on it, but it's working. And how can we pull that into other areas of our business? And, not to put too much weight on your shoulders, but you'd be the guy.
Thank you.
That's gonna have to erect that structure internally to WorldHost group. But any thoughts? Big sort of pontification there, but any thoughts on those areas?
I think, one, we can just all assume most any hosting, I'm making a broad statement here, but most any hosting company has got to think about WordPress. Like if they don't, they're in some niche thing that but it was probably 10 years ago. I remember it was just all the hosting companies kind of started to go, what's WordPress? And I think WP Engine was a big part of that coming out, Paisley, different places, but showing professionalism and quality and the need for it. But then, one day I feel like 10 years ago or so, hosting companies woke up and go, someone run the numbers. And it was like, I'm just guessing, but it was like 60% of your infrastructure has this thing called WordPress. And it just, that was when all of this changed, because, when we break it down from a business sense for a second, recurring revenue, subscription revenue is the gold standard, for business. It's why SaaS is such a huge thing. So the reality is it would be very attractive to investors. And that's what we've seen over the last 10 plus years in WordPress, is just people going, wow, this is huge. As we've grown and matured as a community and as a platform. So, I just recognize and accept that. Like, I think if I can get to the space where I go, that should be a good signal back that we've grown something pretty big. It comes with new sets of challenges, absolutely, that we've seen. It's why I sold iThemes. I go, GoDaddy's just bought Security and Managed WP and all these places. And then, it just started like, okay, if I just do my math, they're going to, They're going to camp out in backups and security. And now I think most hosting providers have some kind of backup for their customers. And so that was our cheap product at the time. And that's what ultimately led me to sell, is like the industry is getting bigger and there's a lot of attention. But on the AI thing, I think that's a question everybody's, thinking about too underneath this is, I don't even know if disruptive is the right word for AI.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's like, you and I've been around together a long time in this space, but I remember when the iPhone came out, and you're like, that was the first year right after right before iTheme started. And it, in 2 years, fundamentally changed the world. And you're like, at the time we're like, okay, is it responsive? Is it adaptive? How do we do this?
Where's the buttons?
Where's
the buttons? This thing is stupid.
Yeah. For our themes though, you're like,
oh, right. Yeah,
wait, we're just used to monitors. Now it's a very small screen that's different sizes. And I remember going through that, and look, it's better now for it, going through that. But it feels like tech for me, I've always said like this, like going like this. When ChatGPT was probably last year or so, I was like, when I started actually using it, I go, oh my God, it feels like now it's going like this straight up. And I go, I can't comprehend that dimensionally. I'm a simple guy. I'm like, it's going to change everything. I don't know,
Yeah.
I think most of us are, and I'm glad there's been efforts to think about how AI can be used with WordPress to help people, but I use it every day and all day, personally and professionally. Yeah. Like I go, wow, I feel a little bit old now and I feel like a little bit of a dinosaur in tech, but I go, oh, I love this. This is my little buddy. Like, I don't call it a name. I call it chat, but like, holy cow, it has increased quality of my work, clarity, all that in a big way. So like, yes, I think everybody's going, I don't even know what to do. You kind of try to stay with it as best you can, but incredible. And I'm glad we're at least thinking it, and you brought the topic up, because I see it as a tool. Great tool. I don't want to predict the future. Can't. I'm going to be dead wrong every time, but I just go, we should leverage this in some way. No doubt,
Yeah, it's hard to even, I just recorded a video earlier for my YouTube channel, and it's at this point now, like, you can't predict the future in 5-year increments right now with ChatGPT, OpenAI, and all the other stuff like Hugging Face, the open source stuff. It is a radical change that's about to happen. And you really have to look at it in like 1 or 2 year increments. If you're trying to guess anywhere beyond that, good luck. Like you have to be in the top 0.01% of the tech world insiders to understand what this stuff is going to do. But how that impacts WordPress, and I think one of WordPress' greatest advantages right now anyway, is because of hosting companies. I just want to talk about distribution for a moment. Like the fact that like WordPress is very popular because a lot of hosting companies distribute it. And I think that is, in today's climate of WordPress, everyone's like, well, we're just going to fork it. We're going to come up with a new one, right? That new one will take over. We'll have new leadership on that one, or it'll have this feature set. We'll remove Gutenberg. It'll do this. Yeah, okay, great idea. Yeah. And it might be a nice hobby project. But the thing that is going to be quite nearly impossible to dethrone is WordPress distribution, right? Every host's one-click install. And it's a little bit of chicken or the egg kind of thing. Like WordPress does have a brand, as much as us 1%ers of WordPress.
Yeah, right.
Say things like, nobody, like, there's no marketing, there's no brand. People still know it.
Yes.
Therefore, people request it. Therefore, hosting companies distribute it. Yes, it's free and it's open source, so I understand that part of it. But there's still a brand there, and it's still being requested. Based on like what you've done with iThemes, and I totally forgot, like Liquid Web, of course. Like, do you have a thought on like the power of distribution and how maybe people should be thinking about maybe not forking the entirety of WordPress, but maybe coming up with something new, because dethroning distribution is difficult? I don't know if you have any thoughts on distribution.
I'm trying to remember the book off the top of my head, but I know it was Clayton Christensen. He talks about, I'll find it in a second, but basically disruption, where any company or product in the sense of WordPress gets in and eventually becomes very disruptible because it's like it's in the thing. And I don't think he uses this, but I think about tech debt and things like that. Like, when we started iThemes, there wasn't like fleshed out Stripe didn't exist. So there wasn't fleshed out things to go automatic renewal, recurring subscription. We'd have to build that. And then we're like, got to build this, got to figure this out. And things had advanced a lot, but you go, whoa, we got to now transition this big thing. And I'm not saying that about WordPress necessarily, but I think I have to look up the name of that book, but it was really Crossing the Chasm maybe. But it was this fact where companies' products get to a certain space and it's tough because they've just got a lot of overhead. You and I have children. When I was single, then when it was just Lindsay and I, and now we have kids, those are different stages of my life. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, they were.
And I think about that with WordPress, like, one of the incredible strengths has been backwards compatibility. Like, we think about those things as a project, like there's someone that doesn't want to upgrade to a different version or whatever the legacy systems are there, and then it's backwards compatible. And, companies don't typically do that, but WordPress does. Yeah. Our focus on inclusion, oh my gosh, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I love that. That inspires me personally, to bring that back to my community, and inside my heart too, is to go, I do want to include it. Anybody that wants to be here, I want to welcome them. What Michelle Frechette say, the Pac-Man, when you're in a group, get the Pac-Man open. Always keep that Pac-Man over there. So, obviously WordPress has changed my life in enormous ways. It's taken me on the most incredible 18-year adventure. But I think there's realities of any software like it is like, enterprise has needs, different markets have needs, do-it-yourselfers, agencies. That's a lot to take on. And I can't imagine that kind of weight from a project load. And so, but I mean, then we've also seen competition get so much better. Like 2006, when I started my first WordPress site, I was like, what else was there? It was blogger.com for a blog at the moment, but CMS and all that stuff, it was mostly proprietary and all that. And then WordPress hit this critical moment. I've often said that, like, Matt is in my belief, is a historical figure in our history of our planet and should be mentioned, and also Mike Little, for taking those steps to launch WordPress, to fork B2, launch WordPress. Because I was just reflecting on this, Matt, like 100 years ago, I've got a heater right here. I've got air conditioner. I've got internet. I'm talking to you. You're in Massachusetts and I'm in Oklahoma. Yeah. And like those 100 years, just 100 years ago. Yeah. And communication. So what did the internet do? And I go, and a key figure in that is WordPress. How it helped the rapid expansion of the web, still there too. But with that, it's 23 years old now. Yeah. That is crazy in software terms.
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk about the PostStatus stuff, but before, one more question on the A2. I'm sure people are listening like, okay, great, they got acquired, so what's going to change immediately? Anything you know of, anything you can talk about that's going to change immediately? Price, dashboard, URLs, anything that is changing immediately on the A2 stuff with this acquisition?
So the great news, one of the other signals, I'm like, tell me more about this, because we know the buy strategy, in WordPress. We're very familiar with that. I think mostly agency owners are extremely savvy with these things because they're affected by them, but definitely buy. But they said 2 additional words, and build. And I go, I want to know the and build part. And it is product. And I'm very compelled looking at Seb's past, the leadership team's past that flows into that. It's not just, oh, this will do this better thing, wrench it in here and do that. It's not that. It's like, no, let's build an experience. And he says over and over in every communication I've talked to him, it's like, we're trying to build a sustainable, healthy business that is profitable. It needs to be profit. That's a fact of business. And I go, that and build part is interesting, because I think one of the key questions I want to get in front of too and share this vision, just simply share his vision, leadership team's vision, is the and build part. So product for sure, that's going on, has been going on before we were even a part of it. And then now there's plans in place for that will be rolling out that I don't even know all of them, but I know
Sure.
Aaron Campbell over there in product, he's actually in the bigger commercial group. And so I go, this buds well, and I'm hearing the right things. And let me think what else in the build part. So there'll be more stuff coming in the next, 3 to 6 months that people will start seeing. My thing was just, let's share CEO and his vision and values, and then just give us a moment to show you. And if we don't, we don't. If we do, but one other flag, big word, and you've used this word, but he used it, and I said, I want to know everything you have to say about this because I love it.
Yeah.
Trust. We want to build globally recognized, trusted brand. And I said to him, hosting industry overall does not instill trust. And you've worked in hosting. You know this. It doesn't necessarily scream, trust me, trust me, trust me. And I think that's compelling that we would even say it and put it out there, because I go, there's expectations with that. And they align with what I've heard and continue to hear, learn more about where we're going. And I go, yes, trusted. I want that all day, every day. I want to be in a company that's the promise we're always shooting for, is instill trust. Because frankly speaking, it hasn't always been there in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's all you can do. All you can do is try. All we can do is hope that you steward in A2 and the WordPress community along with that. Yeah. And, we'll check back in about 6 months to a year.
Please do. Please do. That's what I invite everyone. And that's what we're saying too. And Seb will say that is, here's our plans. And then just give us a little bit of time to start showing you the background to those. And that's all I'm asking, is just give us a moment to show you these cool things I'm hearing about and learning about and involved in. And so, yeah.
Speaking of giving you a moment, everyone listening to this, just take if you're out for a run, if you're doing your dishes, cleaning your house, just stop for a moment and enjoy an exhale of relief for our good friend, Cory Miller. And, it's hard for me to interview you about the PostStatus stuff because, listen, I again, it's not my full-time job. It's a side thing with the WP Minute, but my struggles of getting people to care about the WordPress news and community, getting sponsors, finding talented people to create content, right, making content myself, and chugging that engine along every single year, along with a membership, is not for the faint of heart, right? Because we were talking before, you have a community site, you have a content site / media site, and those are either getting pulled down by the temperature of WordPress or getting pulled up if the temperature of WordPress is nice. But it's the hard times. People are like, I'm so sick of WordPress. What are they doing now? And when it's good, everyone's like, oh, great. Sign me up to your sponsorship at the WP Minute. You've been going through this at a bigger scale with PostStatus, more members, more sponsors, more problems. Take me back to your time of when you first acquired PostStatus and you started thinking about the future of what you wanted to do with PostStatus. How do you decompress that now? How are you grateful, thankful, regrets? What can you share on the emotional level of starting and finishing this chapter in your life?
Oh, man, I've been doing a lot of journaling about this, Matt, and you just said the finishing part. And I think with all these things, and it's not just PostStatus and A2, we've had 4 things between Lindsay and I that we've dealt with. I've jokingly said to one of my entrepreneur friends, I said, if you want to sell your company, touch my elbow, because now evidently is the hot time for me to be involved in these things. From A2, PostStatus, one of our startups that we had funded a couple of years ago and I ran, and then her business, she merged 2 of her businesses together, consolidate with her partners, push forward. And so I'm like, if you want it, just go ahead and just touch my shoulder, rub my elbow, because evidently right now it's all coming around because it's 2-week period of time. So that part, Matt, thank you for that. The finishing part, I have been very relieved and ready. And I'm sure people as well, for something new, a new chapter, all that. I feel proud that we were able to take Brian's work as the founder, what he did and started, which is really compelling, such an active, loyal group that wants to talk. Sometimes you go, okay, let's keep it in a bar. But overall, like a really great community that wants to stay connected, needs to stay connected, and things have happened in our world, in industry, and life. It's like the importance of a connection. So when I left in iThemes and Brian Ping, actually, being pinged Brian to ask him something. I'd like to ask you about something. He goes, I have something to ask you about. And I remember I didn't even think about it, but what it represented was community. And I love community. I love groups. We did it at iThemes. We built a team community. We built a customer community. And then Brian had this incredible one that I was a part of. You were a part of. iThemes sponsored all that over the years because we need it, and we still do. It was just community and doing that. And so I don't know. I think it was just so excited to go, I like this. This is my jam. And the reality of business, going through my 40s, I'm now in my late 40s. Late, Matt. Like I'm getting ready to turn 49. And I started this whole thing when I was like 32. So I feel old, my friend. When you're feeling old.
I can go to the featured image from the Matt report that I used of you in our first interview. And
oh my God. Oh my God. But when it's the whole cliche, but when you're old is when you think people who are grown adults and professionals seem like, are they even 25? And some of our C-suite, and I'm so energized by it, but at the same time I go, and there's no bias for me. I just go, man, I feel like I've done this for a long time, but they have too. Seb goes back to 2003, just like Brian Mutig, our founder at A2. And like, that's the day when you're old, is when you think other people are now young. And the reality is they're not kids. They are grown professionals and awesome at it. And I'm not talking just about our team, about anybody. But that's where I feel like I've been in the space so long. But long story short, the finishing part is, I think we tried to do a lot of stuff. PostStatus probably a little bit broke me in many ways because nobody's responsibility, it's my own. But trying to do stuff, not getting the momentum build, but we did do good things. If I really just step back, we did good things that I still believe in that we did. And then now Joost and Marieke, who better, to take on this, and they've got vision for it, turn it into a nonprofit that honestly should have been all along. Because the reality, it's still a business at the heart of it though, because you got to raise money and pay for that somehow. This has been our ongoing thing for 5 or 6 years as I became part of PostStatus. And these community efforts, content efforts, I don't think people understand how much time goes into WP Minute for Matt Medeiros. Right. I know, and I probably know a fraction of it. It's like you're thinking about it, you're working on it. And over time, I think business overall is just like, I broke my foot and that caused a bunch of physical problems and I had to take some time off. And PostStatus is here when I came back. And I'm thankful for that. But I am excited, relieved. I'll be honest. I'm relieved. And I'm also grateful for the time, and also Marieke, Joost, and Michelle Frechette, and the members and the sponsors that have supported us over the years. Yeah. But we've been through a lot, pandemics, economic, you don't even know how to characterize some of the worldwide economic stuff that's been on in the last couple of years. Sure. All that to say, I have a huge empathy for entrepreneurs, even more so. I am one at heart still. I am officially retired for the time being. Like, I just want to do fun stuff. So when I called Paul Carter, CEO at A2, hey, I'm getting ready to put my resume out and tell everybody I'm gonna go take a job. He was so awesome. What a great place to land. He's an amazing leader, and also Brian. And those were my 2 direct reports. And it was so much fun. It still is. Yeah. But I started having fun again, Matt. Yeah. And that's where I'm owning it for myself and not blaming anyone. It's myself. But where something was off balance, where I got to the place where I'm tired and maybe starting to get frustrated, and that builds to anger, and that builds potentially to bitterness. And I could see myself going so dangerously close to that. And that's when I was like, okay, I just want to do something different for now, put it in good hands with Michelle. And then thankfully, Joost and Marieke being a part of that and eventually taking it on. And it's a big thing they're taking on. Let's not even say it's a big thing. Yeah. It's not just financial, but it is financial. It's also time investment. They're turning into a nonprofit. They're not getting rich off this. They never wanted to, by the way. It was like, they know the importance of a thing like PostStatus in the community. So I just, my plea though, is I'm going to be direct on this, is that don't devalue the fact that you get this Slack account and you're connected to a bunch of people. Don't devalue that. Don't devalue the fact there's an organization for the commercial side of WordPress that we can talk. Support things like PressConf. Raquel's doing amazing things. Sign up, show up, go. We have to have a place we have every year. We couldn't get it done at PostStatus. Raquel's doing it, where you can meet together, gather, talk shop like the old Pressnomics. And I love that they're inspired by that. And Sally, I saw was coming, and I'm making plans to be there. We're making plans to help support and sponsor. And then I go to WP Minute. You've been doing this tirelessly, Matt. I don't know how you do it, honestly, but for so long. And I just say, this isn't even a plea. It's just like, we need these things in our industry. We need WP Minute. We need PostStatus. We need PressConf. Support them. If not, you're not investing in your own career or business or ecosystem, frankly speaking. Now I can say that because my hands are done. And I'm advocating on you all's behalf.
Yeah.
But you and I have talked about this over and over, Matt. These things are vital. They connect us. They serve and support us in some way. And then it's like, we all have to go digging for begging, pleading for sponsorship money, for people to pay the very low cost of membership.
Yep.
Just do it. And if you're in the place with your business, buy 10 of whatever they are from WP Minute, whatever they are from PostStatus. Do it, show up, and support it, because this is the thing that's crazy. And I think that maybe some of this is part of the conversation going on bigger in WordPress, but it's, if you benefit from it, actually support it. I think that's a core part of the message I feel here, but I do see it on a bigger level. It's just, if you're benefiting from it, step up, show it. Just because there's not a buy button, but hit the buy button, hit the join button, and support it. And then if you do find support, tell the people you use, tell the vendors, the hosting companies, the plugin companies, I can't live without WP Minute, go sponsor.
Yeah.
And I would also say, if you're an agency owner, you have, I believe, you're the VIPs for all of the companies we're talking about, the sponsors that would come for WP Minute or elsewhere, because you are the core customer that we all want to talk about. Name a hosting company that doesn't have a partner program, for agencies. So let your voice be known.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I think we have so many innovative, incredible people, brilliant minds, and awesome humans in WordPress, but we don't always see the value of this. Mm-hmm. Even if it's Slack. But now Raquel's got the PressConf where we can go together and talk shop. Yeah. Agency owners, and this is something I'm borrowing from Strebel back in the day, is cooperation over competition. And you can quickly see, it's like, you and I, we joke about this. Okay, were we frenemies at PostStatus? And I remember Sarah Tavern, we're all getting in our little frenemies. It was so fun, lighthearted, because we're all doing our best,
right?
And hopefully pushing each other. But that cooperation part, now is the time to lean in. Now, if you don't, you are not investing in the ecosystem that supports your career or business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I couldn't agree with you any more. There's so much to be said in the WordPress space. And I know I've talked about this a lot, but it's rare that you and I will talk about this publicly to really share how we think about it. But yeah, it's just a strange place, the WordPress business sphere, right? And especially when you look at like the media side of it, because there are so many people who value, the work that we do at the WP Minute. And again, I can't thank Eric Karkovac enough, who writes for me, Raquel, who helps me with the community stuff at the WP Minute. But all that content in the WordPress space, people value it. Like they want it, I should say. They want it. But it's hard to find people who will invest in it, right?
Yes.
Money to keep it going. And as soon as it goes away, people are like, well, why aren't you covering, like all of the stuff happening in the WordPress world these days? It's like, oh, you should be covering it more. You should be saying this about it. You should be interviewing these people. But they're like, whoa, I'm no big media conglomerate with a legal war chest
exactly.
To back me up if I mistakenly say something. And by the way, this is not a full-time job. I don't know how Ray does it from the repository.
I know. I told her that yesterday. I was chatting with her.
Yeah, she's doing fantastic work, right?
Incredible.
And it's just, and then there's so many people in the in doing WordPress newsletters, doing WordPress podcasts, and that's awesome. I take the little money that I bring in from the WP Minute, and I've sponsored other smaller creators and their newsletters and their podcasts to just like keep them going. And, but at the same time, what that does is it sort of like, there are people who start and stop and then just, fade away. And I know that happens, but in the WordPress space, it is pretty detrimental to like people caring about this kind of content. And that's why, again, like Cory said, like you reach out to these other newsletters and these folks who are starting up their podcasts and their YouTube channels, and you support them. Like if it's not PostStatus, if it's not the WP Minute, then pick somebody else, please, to support them, because this content is extremely, extremely important, right? Especially in today's climate. And again, further that against the backdrop of like where AI is headed, news around the world. I mean, it's already been impacted by AI and like other like algorithms, especially on social media platforms. But all of this news stuff is everyone's going to have, the summary of their news on their phones. It's going to shoot over to their email. It's all going to be AI generated. It's going to be curated to exactly what you want. And what that means is, the listicles that happen in WordPress, the newsletters that go out of the top 10 stories, it ain't going to matter anymore because you're going to get it somewhere else. But what you won't get, not yet anyway, is that the human breakdown, right? The breakdown from, the individual who curated that news and information and is giving it to you with their angle on it, right? Ran an agency for 10 years, been podcasting about WordPress for 15 plus years, worked at a hosting company, worked at Gravity Forms, worked in the audio industry. So all of that leads up to my opinion on XYZ, right? And then the 12 other people who are doing that based on their experiences in life. And that's the next frontier, like that's the next frontier. Like the news stuff, see ya. Yeah. But the human side of it, and you were, I'll still continue to consider you a journalist. Like that's where your background's in, right? So you're looking at that going, reporting, like the cut and dry, black and white stuff. The AI is just going to give it to you. Here's what happened today. Here's what happened today. And then we're going to look for a human to say, okay, can you tell me, like, what do you think about it? So
that's what I value about you and Krogsgard is that your opinions helps me calibrate my own, like maybe I won't agree 100%, but that perspective, the commentary is the place because it is, like you said, all those experiences wrapped into one to share something. And even if you don't agree, it gives you a baseline to figure out your own opinion. I think we don't fully recognize that always, that having you on here, your YouTube channel, your podcast that you've done over the years, how much work is there where you're given a really thoughtful opinion and perspective on things to help formulate. Like you and Krogsgard were some of the first people I would call outside of iThemes to ask your input and feedback on things. Why? For those reasons.
Yeah.
And why I supported both of you in different projects over the years and want to continue to in the new news that we're, sharing. So, because we recognize it, but it's something that, it's just like when we put this together, you had PostStatus Slack. Okay. You had to be watching or have it on your phone. You've got your own Slack at WP Minute. Yeah. And then, which by the way, sorry, I didn't do that on yours because I'm a member. I am a supporter of WP Minute, but and also the admin bar, which I forgot to say earlier, but that time, and I don't even remember, Matt. I hope it was not late for you, but I was like, okay, ping. And then there's a response and things come in and then scheduling and then prepping for all this. I mean, what do you have, 3-4 hours now into this? Plus, but you can't even say that because it's like, start here. Okay, have the conversation. Something comes in over here. Okay, I got to go back. Wait, has Cory responded over here? Come back. And you're like, that's just to do this piece of content. Right. And then you'll have post and then you have promotion. That's a lot of work to deliver the quality you've done for consistently for so long.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. All right. I want to hit you with a more direct question on on running PostStatus? What was the most challenging? This is me as somebody who runs, a small media site with a membership site. Though my membership's a little bit different. It's really if you want to support me, you can donate and you get access to a Slack. I'm not really promising anything on the membership side. Like, I'm not holding any kind of like internal membership meetups or anything like that. I know PostStatus was a lot more formal on that. But what do you think was the most challenging when you were at the head of that ship from the business perspective?
I generally go, but I'm going to answer this specifically. There's two problems in business always that every entrepreneur deals with. It's money and people, and they're intimately connected.
Sorry.
Yeah, but the money side was sponsorships to, one, pay all the bills, and then second, try to offer more value, increase quality to our members and our sponsors. And sponsorship, that was one of the biggest. Second, when we rolled out the business accounts, was asking people to show up and sign up and support it because we all need it and have one voice together, or at least one common place to have a voice. So sponsorship money, and then a subpart underneath money is membership. We just couldn't get that. It was always heavily advertising support, 70-30, I think, when I initially came on, and we tried to balance that better and just didn't get that going. But the hot, cold sponsorship stuff. Okay, this quarter, someone's all in there ready, and I don't have inventory for that. And then next quarter I do, and they're like, nope, wind shifted. Yeah, and I think that's with all of us that deal with advertising. The second one, and really is second, is that just wasn't my cup of tea, and I didn't always appreciate it. I wanted a safe, healthy environment for conversations. But the back end of that was not something I look forward to. It's just, and I wouldn't say it was every day. It was just like a handful of things over the years where you go, man, I'm trying to get the money to do the things we need to do for this and pay me.
Yeah.
And pay our team. And then it would just invariably come in where you're like, I don't like, honestly, having to tell adults to be kind.
Right.
I just don't.
I do it enough with my kids.
I know. And there's the gauge too. And this is anywhere on the internet, not just PostStatus, but it's just like, there's a big flag when my children are more mature and kind than an adult, professional. And I just didn't, that's just the fact of the internet. Right. I've done it myself. I've been the troll myself, keyboard warrior. Oh, should have let that cook on 24-hour cycle.
Yeah.
That was not as frequent, but it was there. That ongoing protecting the healthy people, protecting people was tough and draining for me, because invariably you come in and you're like, man, I can't monitor this all the time. Yeah. So I got to the point where I had to ignore it.
You're talking a few thousand people in a room. Like, it's
all the time, all day, every day.
Yeah, it's literally impossible.
That's why huge shout out to Michelle Frechette. Yeah. She keeps things together. I'm indebted to her and thankful for her but it's tough, especially because we are not, as a WordPress industry, we're not bashful about sharing our opinions.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's the good and great of this stuff. I was witnessing before we jumped on, I was witnessing some of the discussion around what it means to have private conversations in a Slack group that size. And, this is just my personal opinion. It's not private anymore.
It's not.
One time I remember I saw, this is years ago, there was a conversation happening in a page builder group on Facebook with over 10,000 people in the Facebook group, and somebody posted something, and I was like, this was an amazing post. I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is, this goes back years when people are still trying to figure out how is page builders going to change WordPress? So this goes back a few years, and I saw somebody post something amazing. I thought it was great. Screenshotted it, brought it over to Twitter, and I was like, see, this is what we should all be thinking about when it comes to WordPress and page. I thought it was a fantastic post, and I was amplifying it. And then that person messaged me and was like, you take that down immediately. That's a private thing. And I'm like, private? You put it in a group of over 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line between private and under 10,000 people is a private message? And it's tough, man. It's just tough. It, like you said, it's the internet, but also it's humans. And yeah, it can be draining for sure, especially when you're trying to lead the whole thing.
And I still love community. I just like it on this side. I like
Yeah.
having my paycheck, working with an incredible team. It starts with Katie Richards and then the new team at World Host Group. But I like this better because like for the money side, I'm just getting paid and I like that. And then I'm doing the stuff I really enjoy doing. So it checks the box where I'm not having to struggle to go, okay, I want to do this work, but I've got to go be a salesperson here and sell a sponsorship. And I tried my best to learn and grow with that and say, I can always learn new things. I learned how to play PlayStation last year. Haven't played since like way back in the day. And I was like, I can learn new things. But that side, you know it, like this is what you do. You talk about perspectives, you ask great questions, you get compelling guests on. But then you also have a very big need to go raise money to pay for everything.
Right.
And, that's a hard job.
Yeah. Cory Miller, I'm so glad that this weight is lifted off of your shoulder. Hey, with a little bit of new weight on your shoulders, right? People are going to be looking at you going, okay, how's this acquisition doing? How's A2? Are we ushering in our community, our customers? But so thankful that you were able to hang out today and chat about both of these things. Any particular place you want folks to go to say thanks, to follow you? Any landing page they should check out?
Well, I did just about a month ago pull my site over to A2. It's on WordPress. Don't judge me on my design, but I got a new website. So corymiller.com. It's a very simple website,
Right.
but I was like, oh, it is that would be the connection point as well as, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that. And as best I can, I try to stay in touch. It's nice. It's heavy, but it's so good. It's a reflection of all the great people I've met over the years. Like, I've got a lot of friends. There's a bunch of DMs sitting in PostStatus. I need to go say thank you. Go support, Joost. Go support. Go support. Go support.
Yeah.
Throw in some WP Minute, and all these ones we talked about. But thanks so much, Matt. I so much appreciate it. As we finish that journey, we've handed it off. Well, we're still handing off things, but we've closed the deal, and we're super happy. And I wish Marieke and Joost the best. And they really are incredible humans. Glad to know them.
Thanks for listening to the WP Minute. This episode is brought to you by our amazing pillar sponsors, Pressable, OmniSend, Bluehost, and Kinsta. Without their support and the support from our WP Minute Slack members, this content wouldn't be possible. Thanks to our Foundation Plus sponsors, Hostinger, Big Scoots, Themile, Optimal, Patchstack, Weglot, Personalized WP, Deploy HQ, and WP World. Their recognition to help support independent WordPress media keeps the lights on. Want to support the WP Minute through sponsorship or joining our members-only Slack? Visit WPMinute.com/support.